Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, I actually came across a TMZ video that talks about Jussie Smollett's special prosecutor situation, and they're actually discussing double jeopardy in this video. But to me, it looks like they don't have all the facts in order, and it looks like they don't completely understand how double jeopardy might apply in this case. So, I actually wanted to make a video to basically give them additional information so they can understand how double jeopardy actually could apply in this situation. But before I discuss it, I'm going to go ahead and play the video so you can see what they're saying.
So, Jussie Smollett, you may remember, last we spoke of him, a judge said he was appointing a special prosecutor because he thought something hinky happened with the state's attorney in Chicago who dropped the case. And that judge said, look, we're going to look at I'm going to appoint the special prosecutor. And that opens the door that if the special prosecutor thinks that the state's attorney screwed up, you could refile charges against Jussie Smollett for lying to cops.
Have to go through the whole thing all over again.
And he just filed papers saying, that is BS. You cannot do that to me. It is double jeopardy.
Yeah, the big question here, though, is whether or not it actually is double jeopardy, right? Because the state's attorney's office dropped the charges, basically not ever going through with prosecuting him on those charges. Again, if you remember, he was basically made a payment to Chicago for the bail that he had put up initially, and that was all he had to do in addition to time already that he had done in community service to the city.
Yeah, and Sean, I think, my understanding of double jeopardy in situations like this is it attaches when a jury is impaneled.
Exactly.
And this was before the jury was impaneled.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but that is my understanding of the situation as well, that there has to have been an actual trial that began forward. Now, there was a grand jury, but the grand jury,
that doesn't count as
right,
double
exactly.
jeopardy. Although they may make the argument, I mean, but it sounds like that's the argument they're going to make.
I think that is the argument they're going to make because that is the only jury that was impaneled in the situation. But again, that doesn't seem like it's going to hold water because that's a pre-trial situation.
So basically, and Jussie's filed like 3 separate motions. I mean, he's right now there are 2 things going on in Chicago. One is the special prosecutor that was appointed to review the case, and the second is, remember, the city of Chicago is going after Jussie to recover the cost of investigating the case in the first place. And in that case, the predicate of that case is he faked the attack. So if this does end up going to trial, they will essentially litigate whether that happened or not.
Hi, my name is Arlesia Williams here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, in my opinion, I kind of think that is double jeopardy. The law is that once a judge make a ruling, that no other judge or even the same judge could overrule what they have ruled because their ruling is final. This is something that was 16 separate counts that he was indicted on, which means he was pulled in front of a jury, which still counts.
No, he actually never went in front of a jury. The grand jury is done in secret, so that didn't happen. And grand juries don't attach double jeopardy. So, I mean, that seems to be the argument they're going to make. We'll see.
So you've just heard what they have to say about double jeopardy. They think it doesn't apply because there was never a jury, and they think it doesn't apply because there was never a conviction. Let me explain to you why, or at least I'm going to explain to you why I think, number one, they're wrong, and the conclusions that they've come to are incorrect. And number two, I think the special prosecutor is just going to be a complete waste of time. So let's get into this. First, I'm just going to read the Fifth Amendment, which is where the double jeopardy clause comes from. It basically goes on to say, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service time or of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subjected for the same offense to be put twice in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So basically, the double jeopardy clause is basically here. It basically says nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be put twice in jeopardy of life or limb. Now, the problem here is that the double jeopardy clause doesn't really necessarily show up front how double jeopardy is going to apply in Jussie Smollett's situation, you have to basically look at case law, which is basically decisions that have come from Supreme Court or appellate courts on double jeopardy in situations like this. And basically, when we do that, we come across one of the case laws that I found. I actually found several, but for whatever reason, I think I chose this one because it was a little bit more clear. And basically, it says the constitutional prohibition against double jeopardy safeguards against three distinct abuses. One, a second prosecution after acquittal. Basically, you go to trial, you're acquitted, and basically they can't come after you again for that same offense. And then two, a second prosecution after conviction. You've gone to trial, you've been convicted, and they feel that the penalties were not enough, or the end result wasn't enough, or they're not happy with it for whatever reason. They've decided to take you back to court for the same offense so they can punish you a second time. So double jeopardy protects against that. Now, double jeopardy also protects against number three, multiple punishments for the same offense. Basically, you're trying to punish a person multiple times for the same thing, right? Which is what they're pretty much arguing in Jussie Smollett's situation. Now, I just want to say up front, I do have the documents that Jussie Smollett has filed in this special prosecutor's case, right? But I haven't actually gone on over that. Maybe at some point in time, I'll do a video or a legal analysis on their motion. But for now, we're just going to stick with this. And I also have another video out there that basically talks about how double jeopardy applies. And it's based on a letter that the lawyers of Jussie Smollett sent over to, right? So if you want to see how double jeopardy applies against the city of Chicago, which is essentially going to be the same thing, but you can get a slightly different perspective on double jeopardy. It's really the same argument, but I use a totally different point, totally different case law to basically show you how double jeopardy is going to apply here. So basically, they're trying to punish him. They're appointing the special prosecutor so that they can punish him for something that he's already been punished for. And that's why double jeopardy is going to apply. And then, this case law basically goes on. It is the third offense of these protections that bar against multiple punishments that is the subject of this appeal, right? The multiple punishments prong on the double jeopardy clause protects against the state seeking multiple punishments for the same offense in separate proceedings. Now, here's the thing. Jussie Smollett went to court. Well, maybe he didn't go to court. Basically, he was indicted. Okay, he was indicted, and what came out of that was, number one, he agreed to do community service, and then number two, he agreed to forfeit his $10,000 bond. Right. So that forfeiture in combination with the community service is going to basically count as a punishment. It's going to count as a punishment. So now what you're trying to do is that you're coming back and you're saying, you know what, that's not enough. We want to punish you to a greater degree. We're going to take that back. Well, you can't do that because there was a bona fide agreement between Jussie Smollett and the state attorney at that time. So now you're going to have to find some way to invalidate that agreement. And to be honest with you, from what I've seen so far, there's nothing that's going to allow you to do that because, number one, the state's attorney at that time was well within his rights to grant the agreement, right? And basically, and I think I have a video out there called the Jussie Smollett's Get Out of Jail Free Card. You can watch that video so that you can understand how the state's attorney was able to do that and why he was well within his rights. There's a statute that basically says that any person who made an offense for the first time can basically get a get out of a jail free card. So again, if you want to see that video, just go to my YouTube page and just do a search for Jussie Smollett's get out of jail free card. So basically that's it. So that's why I think at the end of the day, the special prosecutor is going to be a complete waste of time. It's going to be a complete waste of taxpayer dollars. And it just makes no sense because there's nothing that's going to be done that's going to allow you or allow the state to come back and try to punish Jussie Smollett again for something that he's basically already paid for. Right? So, at any rate, that's my opinion. Leave your questions and comments below, and thanks for watching.